Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar, Planning for Social Security. My name is Fritz Schoenhut. I'm a Managing Director and Portfolio Manager at Point View Wealth Management. And I'm very lucky to be presenting today alongside Claire Toth. She's Vice President and Chief Planning Officer of Point View. And as a reminder, if you have a question during the presentation, there's the Q&A button at the bottom where you'll be able to enter in your questions that we'll hopefully be able to get to at the end of our presentation. And we're also posting a survey poll now that could be also answered at the end of the presentation. So we look forward to getting through and getting into the questions at the end. So how should we start thinking about Social Security? And I'll pass it over to Claire.
Thank you, Fritz. Let me add my welcome. This is a topic that we've gotten a lot of interest in from clients throughout the year. I think as boomers continue getting closer to Social Security, and as the pandemic has had a lot of older workers leave the workforce, folks are really concerned about Social Security and what is there for them. So we're going to cover three broad topics this afternoon. First, we're going to talk about what Social Security is and how your benefit is calculated. And for math geeks like me, that's a lot of fun. We're going to talk about claiming your Social Security benefit, and particularly different strategies for married couples, for widows and widowers, and for the divorced folks. And then we're going to talk about shoring up Social Security for the future so that it's there not just for us boomers, but for Fritz and his generation as well. So,
yeah.
So why Social Security?
Yeah, and so Claire, we get a lot of questions about Social Security, and some people think of it as a complete retirement plan. Is that the case?
It is not the case, and in fact, it's never been the case. Social Security came about in 1935 as part of FDR's New Deal. Back in 1935, there really were no formal corporate retirement plans. There were no 401ks, pensions, if they existed at all, were minimal, no IRAs. Most workers were left to their own devices to save for retirement. The Great Depression came along and all those savings got wiped out. So Social Security was created to help shore up, provide some supplemental income for folks who were pretty much beyond working. And in 1935, Social Security kicked in 1965. At that point, someone who made it to age 65 could be expected to live 12 to 15 years. Today, that person's is expected to live over 20 years, and that has a lot of implications for the health of Social Security. However, at full retirement age, and that's a defined term, we'll get to it, Social Security is designed to replace about 40% of the wages on which workers pay Social Security tax. And there's a lot of definitions in there. What I've heard other planners say in the Northwest is that you can think of Social Security as supporting you for 1 week a month. And most of us want to be supported more than 1 week a month. So how Social Security works. First, you and your employer are each going to contribute 6.2% of your wages to Social Security, up to a maximum salary cap. This year, it's $137,700, and it's going up $5,000 next year to $142,800. If you are self-employed, you're going to pay both the employer and the employee side of the Social Security withholding for a total of 12.4% from your gross earnings, though half of that is deductible. All the money that's collected for Social Security is held in a trust fund. I put quotes around that. It's really an account at the Treasury Department that in turn is invested in Treasury securities, which aren't paying very much interest these days. But the effect is that Congress is borrowing from the Social Security Trust Fund to pay bills and is issuing Treasury securities as an IOU. Right now, the average monthly benefit that Social Security is paying out is a little over $1,500 a month. That's adjusted annually. It's going to go up about $20 for next year. And that annual adjustment amount is based on the Consumer Price Index with some tweaks in it. So how we're going to calculate your benefit. Social Security produced this sample statement for a Wanda worker who is nearing retirement age. We're going to walk through this. There's a lot of information in the Social Security statement. If you haven't paid attention to yours, here's what's under the hood. And Wanda is designed to be an average worker. If you're under the age of 60, you should be receiving a Social Security statement paper in the mail every 5 years. Beginning at age 60, it's supposed to be mailed out to you annually. And there's some verbiage on the front cover here that urges you to go to the Social Security website and set up your own account. That's a fabulous idea for a number of reasons. One is you can go in at any time and look at the statement. There are some calculators, you can do some what ifs. It is much easier for run-of-the-mill transactions with Social Security to deal with them online than to try to call them or go in person. You can claim your benefits, you can send it to your bank account, you can change your bank account, that sort of thing. And you also can prevent your Social Security account from being hacked. One hears the occasional horror story about someone creating an account to claim benefits only to find out that some hacker has already created an account in his name and has been claiming benefits for 5 years. That may be an urban legend, but you don't want it to happen. Technically, you have to qualify for Social Security. It isn't automatic. You have to have 40 quarters in the paid workforce, earning at least $1,410 per quarter. That amount is also adjusted annually. In reality, if you earn in 2020 $5,640, and that's $1,410 times 4, at all during the course of the year, you'll get credit for 4 quarters. So if you're a seasonal worker, you work for the holiday season or over the summer, and you earn at least $5,600, you've got 4 quarters of qualification for Social Security. 10 years gets you there. This is the second page of the Social Security statement, and it's showing Wanda's benefits at 3 different times: at her full retirement age, at age 62, and at age 70. Wanda's full retirement age is 67. You see down at the bottom, she was born in 1960. For folks who were born in 1954 or earlier, full retirement age is 66. So those people are there already or will be there in the next couple of months. Thereafter, for every birth year, the full retirement age rises by 2 months until, for folks born in 1960 or beyond, the full retirement age is 67. And full retirement age is one of those important concepts in Social Security. The benefit that Wanda's going to get at her full retirement age is called her primary insurance benefit. And that's another very important concept. The primary insurance benefit is designed to replace 40% of Wanda's average monthly earnings on which Social Security taxes were paid. So that's the Social Security benefit we think about. If Wanda chooses to claim Social Security benefits before she reaches her full retirement age, and she can claim as early as 62, her benefits are going to be reduced by 6% annually. So if Wanda claims at 62, she's basically losing 30% of her annual benefit, though she's gaining some years of benefit. And conversely, if Wanda waits past age 67 to claim, her benefit will grow by 8% annually. And the calculations on this page, particularly showing her, her primary insurance benefit and her benefit at age 70, assume that Wanda's going to work until she's 67, and then she'll retire. Okay, page 3 is where the real meat is. And this shows your earnings records from the first year you were in the workforce. Here, it looks like Wanda got a part-time job when she was in high school, and she's pretty much worked continuously since then. So when you take a look at this, verify your earnings record. If you've got missing earnings in any given year, you've got a limited amount of time. It's 3 years plus to go back and show Social Security that they're missing some earnings. At the same time, it can take a couple of years for earnings to show up. Not all of your 2019 earnings may show up in your earnings record quite yet. I would wait until early next year and check again if you've got any earnings missing from last year. But anything from 2018 and earlier that's not there, you need to reach out to Social Security. Your Social Security benefit is based on your highest 35 years in the workforce, starting at age 21. Now, Wanda started working when she was 16, so those earlier years when she was in high school and maybe college, they don't count. She's donated them to older workers. Thank you very much, Wanda. But she's also got more than 35 years in the workforce, so she's not really hurt by not including those years in her high 35. If Wanda had fewer than 35 years in the workforce, if she had stayed home to raise children or care for elderly parents or for some other reason, then some of those her 35 high years might be zeros. So what this really shows when you're calculating your benefit, many years of moderate earnings are going to get you a higher Social Security benefit than a few years of really high earnings. So someone who was a trader on Wall Street, made $1 zillion for 10 years and retired at the age of 35 is going to have a minimal Social Security benefit. Okay. Fritz, you're muted.
Sorry, I was on mute there. Is there any way to unpack these numbers and see really what's under the hood?
There absolutely is. This is the part I love. And those of you on the webinar, if you aren't in full screen mode right now, I urge you to get there because some of this print gets small. We're going to calculate Wanda's Social Security benefit manually. And this is more than just a parlor trick. It's important to, not only is it important to understand where your benefit comes from, but understanding how it's calculated can help us determine how we can keep Social Security going in the long haul, because there are a lot of factors that go into this. This chart has Wanda's earnings starting at 1980. What's called notional wages is what Wanda earned in each year. And then in the columns that are slightly darker orange is the national average wage for that year. Each year in October, the Social Security Administration publishes the national average wage for the prior year. So last year it was a penny under $54,100. And just if you look at it, Wanda is pretty much the average worker. In order to calculate Wanda's benefits, we're going to have to pretend that she turned 60 last year, because wages that Wanda earns before she turns 60 are adjusted upwards based on the national average wage. So let's look at how that happens. Here we've got the years, Wanda's notional wages, and the national average wages again. Then we've got the multiplier. And what the multiplier is the national average wage in the year Wanda turned 60. And again, we're calling that's for last year, $54,100 essentially. And for each prior year, we divide the $54,100 by the national average wage for that year. So the year she's 60, the multiplier is 1 because we've got the same numerator, the same denominator. In 2000, which is the top of the second column, we divide 54,100 by 32,000 and change. Our multiplier is 1.68. And then for each of those years, we multiply Wanda's real earned wage in the column next to the years. And that gives us her adjusted wage in the dark yellow column. If this isn't confusing enough, we're then going to sort Wanda's adjusted wages from low to high and add up the high 35 years. Those are the numbers in the sort of neon yellow. And when we add up Wanda's highest 35 years of adjusted wages, we get $1,000,008 and odd. That gets divided by 420, which is the number of months in 35 years. And Wanda's average adjusted wage is $4,435.61. We're almost there. Now that we have Wanda's adjusted wage, we can calculate her Social Security benefit. Social Security has what they call bend points. We start with the first $960 of Wanda's average monthly wage. She's going to get 90% of that, or $864. The next chunk of average monthly wage, up to $58.75, Wanda's going to get 32. And because her average wage of $4,400 and change is less than that second blend point, she's going to get 32% of the rest of it for $1,112. We add those together. We're projecting Wanda's benefit at $1,976 a month. If she could earn up to $11,475 and still get a benefit. What's important with the bend points is you see that you get more Social Security benefit at the lower end of the wage scale, and that goes along with how important Social Security is for lower income workers. It replaces a more significant part of their earnings, and more of them rely on it. If we go back to the Social Security statement, we'll see that our projected 1976 benefit is very close to the 1986 that Social Security is projecting for Wanda. We made some assumptions that she was older than she is, and we didn't give her another 7 years worth of earnings that Social Security is giving her. But that tells us that we were awfully darn close to projecting Wanda's earnings. And we will return to some of that math. I'm going to go over some of the Social Security information on the statement again, flesh it out a bit more because there is a lot to absorb. And again, that benefit at full retirement age is the primary insurance benefit, equals about 40% of her pre-retirement wages. And again, Wanda can take as early as 62, losing 6% of her benefit a year. What's important here is that benefit reduction happens monthly. It's 0.5%. So if Wanda waits until she's 62 and a half, she's going to get a higher benefit than if she starts claiming at 62 and all the way up to full retirement. So every month she delays, it's going to grow. And should I take it 62? Should I take it full retirement age? The net present value of those two income streams works out to about, the crossover point is somewhere 77, 78 years of age. If Wanda thinks she's going to live past 78, she's far better off waiting till full retirement age to claim. And again, there is a penalty if Wanda claims before full retirement age and continues to work. If she's making more than 18,000 and change, then for every dollar above that threshold that Wanda makes, she'll lose 50 cents in Social Security benefits. At somewhere 42, 43,000, she'd get no benefit at all. There is a catch-up provision once she hits full retirement age. So she doesn't lose it, but it is delayed. If Wanda claims full retirement age or claims Social Security at her full retirement age or after and continues to work, there's no penalty. And again, we're focusing on Wanda's primary Social Security, primary insurance benefit of 1986. If she waits past full retirement age to claim, her benefit's going to increase 8% annually. And again, that's a monthly calculation. It increases by 2/3% every month to age 70. It does not increase after age 70. Though if Wanda keeps working after age 70 and works and keeps getting larger pay than some of her earlier years, the calculation can increase. So the crossover point between should I claim at full retirement age or should I wait to age 70 to claim is somewhere 82, 83 years. And I tell folks, you know, that's an 8% guaranteed return on your money backed by the US government. And I challenge you to get that kind of return anyplace else. It's also important to know that right now, the life expectancy of a 67-year-old is 19.4 years, which is 86 and change. So at least according to mortality tables, you are better off waiting till full retirement age. You do need to consider how you're going to fund your living expenses before age 70. You aren't required to take retirement plan distributions. If you're not working, do you have other assets to do it? Taxes roll into this, my other favorite subject, because the federal government does not tax 100% of Social Security benefits. Most states don't tax Social Security benefits at all, whereas other sources of income may generate a tax bill for you. So there's a lot to crank into the calculation of when do I take my Social Security benefit. And it's even more fun when you're married. Here we've married Wanda Worker to Peter, who's a couple of years older than she is. Note, because he's 2 years older, his full retirement age is 4 months earlier. That's because we're increasing full retirement age by 2 months every calendar year of every birth year. And here's where the primary insurance amount, and I've highlighted that in yellow, really matters. And apologies for falling into gendered stereotypes. It's just easier to illustrate some of this if Wanda's married to somebody who makes more money than she does than married to somebody who makes less. So here we are. Okay, so there, in addition to Wanda's individual benefit, she may be entitled to what's called a spousal benefit. The lower earning spouse gets the greater of her own benefit or half of her spouse's benefit, measured at their full retirement ages. And that's why we're really focused on the primary insurance amount and the full retirement age. So here, Wanda's primary insurance amount is $1986. Peter's is larger, but half of Peter's is $1,572. Because Wanda's benefit Wanda's own benefit is larger than half of Peter's, she's entitled to her own benefit. She does not get a spousal benefit. And that's true even if Wanda says, oh, what if I claim at age 62? Look, my benefit is small, smaller than, maybe I'll claim at 62 and then switch to the spousal benefit. She can't do that because her primary benefit is larger than half of Peter's. On the other hand, if Wanda had had a smaller primary insurance amount, you know, if she had been a part-time worker or had stepped away for several years, and had a primary benefit of less than $15.72, she could indeed claim her own benefit early at 62 and then switch to the spousal benefit later when Peter claims his benefits. And this is what I tell all married couples: you should do whatever you can to allow Peter to claim his benefit at age 70. As we'll get to when we get to survivor benefits, that's the benefit that will continue until the second of them passes away, and you want that survivor benefit to be as large as possible. And finally, when Peter and Wanda are trying to figure out, you know, they agree that Peter should claim, when should Wanda claim? There are situations where it may make sense for her to claim at 70, at 67, at 62. It depends on finances. It depends on health. Does she want to keep working? There's a lot to go into this.
Now, Claire, you touch on you know, how variable it can be, you know, when determining when to take advantage or to take the benefit. Is there any way for, in this example, Wanda, if she had claimed her benefits, to change her mind? Is there any potential for a do-over or to reconsider kind of the you know, what may have been best previously?
Right. There are a couple of limited do-overs. If, for instance, Wanda had claimed at 60, had filed in the past few months for early Social Security, and after this afternoon decides she made a mistake, she really wants to undo it, she has a year from the time she claims to basically get a do-over. Wanda has to pay back everything that Social Security paid out to her. If she had tax withheld from her Social Security payment, she's got to pay that back. If she's already on Medicare and she's having premiums withheld, she's got to pay that back. So you've got to come up with the funds. There's also the ability in some circumstances, if Wanda had claimed early, to turn off her benefit when she reaches full retirement age and then turn it back on at 70, and that would increase the benefit. And further, for those who are able to take the spousal benefit, the maximum spousal benefit would be half of Peter's benefit at his full retirement age, even if Peter delays past retirement age to take his own benefit. Survivor benefits, when either Wanda or Peter passes away. Each person gets his or her own Social Security benefit or a survivor's benefit, but not both at the same time. Sometimes when folks are widowed, they think they get the two of them, and that is not the case. Typically the lower benefit drops off. In some circumstances, it's possible to start with one benefit and switch to the other. There's some planning to be done there. Survivor's benefits have some different rules. If your spouse passes away early, you're able to claim a survivor benefit as early as age 60, with some reductions, just as claiming your own benefit early has reductions. And the maximum survivor's benefit kicks in at full retirement age. You do have to have been married for 9 months to claim survivor's benefit if your spouse passes away. And typically, if you are widowed, and remarry, you're not entitled to survivor's benefits on your late spouse's Social Security. There's an exception if you remarry after age 60. And if you are widowed, you remarry after age 60, and you are widowed a second time, you get the higher of the two survivor benefits. So there's a couple of different circumstances in which survivor's benefits kick in. One is if both Peter and Wanda are claiming their benefits, and Peter claims at 70, Wanda may claim at her full retirement age. Once Pete predeceases, Wanda's benefit turns off and she steps into Peter's shoes. Typically, the funeral director takes care of this, and there's nothing Wanda needs to do. Funeral directors know about this, and it's part of their job.
So is this why the higher earning spouse should claim as late as possible?
And that's exactly right, Fritz. Because if Peter had claimed earlier, Wanda would continue perhaps with her own benefit, or not the full 4,002 that Peter could have gotten at age 70. And the poverty rate among unmarried elderly women, be they never married, divorced, widowed, is 20%. Social Security is a huge component of income for most of these women right now, and we want that benefit to be as large as possible for them. Now, if Wanda or Peter passes away before claiming benefits, the rules can be somewhat different. So let's assume that Wanda passes away before she reaches her full retirement age. Pete can claim a survivor's benefit on Wanda's earnings as early as 60, subject to a 6% reduction and further cutbacks if Pete's continuing to work. But the survivor benefit is almost independent of Pete's own benefit. He can take it. So he can claim survivor's benefits based on Wanda's record up until he turns 70, and then claim on his own benefit, because that will maximize his benefit, and he'll still have had the Social Security income stream before age 70. Conversely, if Pete passed away early, Wanda might want to claim her own benefit early and then switch the survivor benefit at full retirement age so that she gets Pete's maximum benefit. It's not that we're advocating for early death, but there is a lot of planning that can be done around it. There's also planning that can be done around Social Security and divorce. Divorced people can be eligible for the spousal benefit. Again, that has half of the former spouse's benefit has to be larger than your own benefit. But your right to the spousal benefit is independent of your former spouse, and is also independent of your former spouse's new spouse. To claim benefits on an ex-spouse, you have to have been continuously married to one person for 10 years in a row. And that sounds easy, but a lot of questions come up about people who will divorce and then remarry, or married a couple of different times. Or if you've been married for a long time to spouse one, get divorced, have a short marriage to spouse two. If you're getting spousal benefits on an ex-spouse, it would be spouse one. Both spouses must be at least 62 to claim benefit for either to claim a spousal benefit on an ex-spouse. And the divorce has to have been finalized at least 2 years earlier, or your ex-spouse must already be claiming. Gray divorce is a big thing these days, and some of the Social Security rules around it can really trip people up here. You can only claim a spousal benefit on your most recent qualifying marriage. So if you had 2 10-year marriages in the past, and ex-spouse number one was a high earner, ex-spouse number two was a low earner, sorry, you can only look at ex-spouse number two for the spousal benefit. On the other hand, a high earning spouse can have multiple long-term marriages and have multiple ex-spouses claiming spousal benefits. How do we claim those benefits? You can, if you're eligible for a spousal benefit on your former spouse, you can claim at that former spouse's full retirement age, even if the former spouse is not claimed. That's different from if you're married to that person, because these benefits are independent of each other. Your former spouse there's no reason for your former spouse to know that you have claimed. No need to notify that person. You're only dealing with Social Security. You will need to document the divorce. If your former spouse passes away, you are eligible for a survivor benefit. The funeral director isn't going to know about this one. You're going to have to deal with Social Security directly to let them know your ex-spouse has passed away and to claim the survivor benefit.
Now, Claire, I've got decades to go before thinking about retirement. Unless I hit the mega millions, it's not going to be something that I'm going to be really worrying about too much. But we see it in the news a lot. Will Social Security be there for me when I get to that stage?
Okay. Well, right now, I'm the eternal optimist, and I think Social Security in some form will continue. There is a surplus in the Social Security Trust Fund that is projected to disappear in 15 years. And thereafter, projections are that the taxes collected will fund 79% of the benefits. Congress significantly overhauled Social Security in 1984. So we're due for another overhaul. And in 1984 is when the full retirement age was extended from 65 to 67. And for the first time, Social Security benefits were taxed. There have been some tweaks to the benefit system since then. There used to be some planning techniques. You might have heard of file and suspend and a couple of others that are no longer available. Most recently, Social Security has tweaked how it calculates the cost of living adjustment from year to year, and that's depressing the COLA. So it's not growing. So although the absolute nominal dollars people are getting isn't reduced, the growth rate on those is slowing and may not keep up with real inflation. But there are some possible fixes out there. We can change how the benefit is calculated. And that's why we went through the exercise of calculating Wanda's benefit manually so that we understand how that benefit happens. You'll recall we used Wanda's 35 highest years in the paid workforce. That 35 years could be extended to 40 years. That if you start counting at age 21, that only gets you to age 61, and most people work beyond 61. Putting more years into that high calculation means you're going to include more lower earning years. And for folks who aren't continually in the workforce, you're going to have more zeros. So that's going to depress your average monthly wage calculation. You'll recall we indexed Wanda's wages before she turned 60 based on the average annual wage or the average national wage throughout the country. We can tweak that calculation in ways that, again, will depress the growth of the average monthly wage. There were bend points when we calculated Wanda's benefit. 90% of the lowest amount, then 32, and then 15. We can tweak those bend points, either the percentages or where they fall. Social Security, the spousal benefit came into being 85 years ago. Well, for the past 40 years, workforce participation by women has exceeded 50%. Maybe time to phase out the spousal benefit and just say you get your own benefit. And that's that. We can extend Social Security withholding to higher wages. Right now, for next year, it's going to be $142,000. And at the same time, higher up the wage scale, if a person has earned income of 200,000 or more, there's an increase to the Medicare withholding that's separate from Social Security withholding. So we could say increase the Social Security withholding amount to $200,000. That drops off. The Medicare surcharge kicks in, but the net pay still increases for most folks. Vice President Biden has a tax proposal out there that would reinstate Social Security taxes for workers earning $400,000 or more. He has said that he wants that any increased collections to shore up Social Security for our low-income folks, you know, those elderly women with the 20% poverty rate. I think less likely, but also possible, is means testing Social Security. One of the reasons why Social Security is as popular a program as it is because everybody gets it. You know, the fellow who cleans your office gets Social Security, Warren Buffett gets Social Security. We could certainly reduce or eliminate the benefits at certain income levels. I think that would reduce the program's popularity. Right now, the maximum amount of benefits that are taxed by the federal government is 85%. We could certainly tax 100% of benefits above certain income levels. And I'm confident that there are plenty of other ways out there to keep Social Security going. Yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute again. I gotta love Zoom, new world. Over the years, there's been talk of having Social Security invest beyond just treasury bills, including into the stock market. What's the status on that? Where do we stand?
Yeah, we see that proposal periodically, Fritz. As I had said, the Social Security Trust Fund is invested in treasury bills, which right now are paying very little interest. And there's been a lot of thought. I mean, there's been talk of privatizing Social Security. And there's talk about putting the trust fund, there has been talk about putting the trust fund in the stock market so that there would be greater earnings on it. The last time that was seriously discussed as a policy consideration was during the George W. Bush administration, say 2006, 2007. And then 2008 happened and the stock market collapsed and nobody was saying, oh, Social Security should be invested in the stock market. I expect that as that recedes into that recession recedes into memory, we may hear some more about that, but that is another possibility.
Okay.
Okay. And here we are.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We do have some questions here, and as a reminder, there is the poll, which you can go ahead and answer. But we'll start it off with some questions as well.
Okay. One question: if your top 35 years, the benefits based on, and if you retire at 63 and you wait till 70 to collect, is the amount reduced? No, it's not, but because certainly wages after age 60 are not adjusted. The wages before age 60 have already been adjusted. It's not going to change your benefit. It's the benefit you're going to get is probably not the same benefit that shows up as your projected benefit on your Social Security statement. Only because that assumes you keep working. But once you're past age 60, 61, you can calculate with some accuracy what your benefit would be in present dollars. And I'm happy to have that conversation offline. Another question, we had talked about the do-over. If you change your mind about collecting Social Security, you have a year to go back and undo it. That change happened in fairly recent years. It used to be that there was an unlimited, at least up till age 70 for the do-over. So one thing folks had talked about is, oh, take my benefit when I'm 62, let's invest it. When I'm 70, I'll pay it back. I'll have made so much money. I'll keep all the profits, and then I can collect a higher Social Security benefit. And again, the 2008 stock market collapse happened, and people stopped talking about that technique, and Congress changed the, you can pay back up to age 70 to you have 1 year to pay back. And the question is, do I have any recourse? And the answer is none that I'm aware of. I'm sorry. If a divorced, I had a question about whether a divorced, probably the higher earning spouse wants to take benefits at full retirement age or later, but the lower earning spouse wants to take at age 62. What happens then? Those two benefits are independent of each other. So if both spouses are at least 62 and the marriage has been terminated more than 2 years ago, the lower earning spouse can take the spousal benefit at 62, and it has no effect on the higher earning spouse. And another question, are there any salary earning limits if you take your benefit at age 70? No. Any salary earning, I think what we're talking about here is the penalty for working and claiming Social Security. That penalty disappears at full retirement age, which varies from 66 to 67, but certainly at age 70, that has gone away. Wow, lots of questions. Should my monthly Social Security payments be increasing after a pay raise 3 years ago? And this is somebody who is past full retirement age, collecting Social Security and still working. And the answer is, it depends. We'd need to take a look at your full salary history and see how your recent earnings play into your full 35 years or your high 35 years of earnings. I've certainly seen the case with people over the age of 70 who are still working, seeing their benefit jump significantly from year to year because their post-age 70 earnings are among the high 35. I think we have time for one more question because we are running late, and then we can get to our little survey. And if you haven't answered our survey, please do. But if you've had 35 years of earnings, high earnings, so you've maxed out every year, and retire early and don't begin collecting until full retirement age, is there any penalty? And there shouldn't be. If you've got 35 years of maxing out your paying in as much as you can to Social Security, that should get you the maximum benefit, unless Congress extends 35 years to 40 years.
Well, I guess one follow-up question to that is, if you retire and then Congress changes it to 40 years, mm-hmm. and you hadn't claimed benefits yet, mm-hmm. are you then stuck with you're missing the 5 extra years?
It's possible Congress will do that. When Congress did the Social Security overhaul in 1984, they phased in that change over a couple of decades. And the idea was that they were not going to harm anybody who was already collecting Social Security benefits. They were only going to affect folks who were currently in the workforce and not yet eligible to claim Social Security. Now, mm-hmm. It's possible they would do it differently the next time, but I would be surprised. Now, I don't see the poll. Do you see the poll, Fritz?
I do not.
You do not see. There we are.
There it is.
Oh, yay. You want to give us the poll results?
I will. So did this webinar help you understand your Social Security benefit? A whopping 93% said, yes, I learned something. And one person, no, I already knew this. So we're glad to see that 0% were hopelessly lost. and we've been able to enlighten 93% of our viewers here today.
Um, and if you've got additional questions, please reach out to us. I love this topic and I'd be happy to keep talking about it. Thank you all so much. We appreciate your time and attention. Bye.